All right. Good afternoon for everybody who's joining. This is going to be the first time I'm streaming with the Condor 2 glider simulator, and we'll join the daily race that's organized by the French people. The race is called TchinTchin, and it's every day at 17:30. And I hope the voice is fine. And now the server came online, and you can see a lot of people are waiting because it's immediately 4 players. We just have to click. Let's start Condor. Oops, that would start Condor if it was not already running. So then ChinChin server 1. That starts Condor. And then we join the server. And we don't need this anymore. Alright, so this is today's task. And in the meantime, people are joining the server. So the task is every day something new. And you don't know it in advance except for like few hours in advance when they post it on the forums. So then you can check the task out. And so for today's task is in southwest Italy. So Milano is over here. We start here. There's a takeoff, a wind start. And the weather is wind from the west-southwest with a very high variability, speed 21 kilometers per hour, light turbulence. There is only moderate thermals, which are topping up at below 2000 meters. And welcome Captain Seaman to the stream. The variation is high in the turbulence, width they're wide, but it's mainly going to be a ridge task. As far as I see it, there is not much wave activity and half glides are nothing. So this is something you always check. The weather for these tasks, the weather is preset, so everybody has the same kind of weather for the task. Today is a standard class, and we fly with the Discuss 2A. There are 3 planes in this category. I have all of them, but I've mostly flown with the Discuss 2A. A lot of people fly with the LS8 Neo. They are extremely similar, except for the LS8 Neo has a higher maximum speed. But there is not going to be much high speed final glide here, I think, so it's okay. But we still take maximum ballast because it only makes a small difference between the best sync. But at higher speeds, it makes the plane fly much better. And there is no cloud flying allowed, so you get penalty points if you fly into the cloud, and you can also not use thermal helpers, which means that with thermal helpers, the software would show where the flight is. And then, so I already had a look at the task. We'll try to climb up here in this valley. Then we have to go back to the start. So you have to cross the start gate at the maximum 1,800 feet or meters. I think we are in meters now. So 1,800 meters. Then we'll climb. We'll try to stay on the southwest side of the ridges. Then here it's going to be more or less headwind. Here we will try to climb up higher to make a height as high as what we need for the final glide. But we'll see it along the way how things go. So the server is already quite full, so let's start our flight. Alright, so Simon, if you have any tips with your IRL gliding experience, then feel free to throw them on the chat. I've flown now with the simulator for a bit more than a month total, but in the last 3 weeks I have not flown because of my Czech ride and because I was on holidays. So when you join the server, then that's how it is. You come up in a row of gliders, and these people are all waiting for takeoff. And then some people are already up in the air. So you see that they also went to the left. I do not hear much volume. I don't know why that is. Well, that was slightly chaotic. Sorry about that. But now at least the server is almost full. Alright, so the voice seems to have solved itself. I don't know, maybe the problem was that I started OBS before I started Condor. Strange issue, but alright. So for those who are not familiar with gliding, like I have not been familiar with gliding for a long time at all, we'll use this PDA quite a lot. So there is like a map view where you can like zoom in and zoom out, and unfortunately you cannot go left and right on it, so you cannot trim the view. Not trim, but scroll the view. Then on the next page you have a bearing display to the next turning point with some data on it. And then this is a very handy display which I will explain when we are already in the air. This shows, it's very useful in the thermals, it shows the location of the lift and the sink. And this just shows the direction of the wind, and of course it works better when you are already in the air. So now when it's a race, then we have to wait for our place in the queue of gliders. But of course you can also use this to look a bit around what's happening, and you can see everybody's going up high in this valley in the middle, because now if you look at the valley, then the wind comes from the right. So that's what you'll also do, just go up with the winch and then turn left. And if I enable the start view, then you can see that this is the start line. So when you start, you have to fly through this window. Actually, it's a sector, but you can talk about it as a window. So even if you gain height before starting, then you will have to come down and fly through this window. So that means that you want to try to be high enough before you start that you can fly through this window at maximum speed. So like before your glider falls apart, of course. And then something else is that it's nice going further, like these people are going further, because you can try out how the route, for example, is going to be, like the first part of the route. And this is a race where where the start happens in a window, so there's going to be a start window, I think, of 60 minutes typically, and then you can start anytime in that window. You can also restart if you would like to, but we'll just go with the flow. Because there are also sometimes starts which have a regatta start, which means that everybody starts at the same time. So there is like a countdown timer, and then when that's zero, then you have to start. You cannot start before that. Before that, yeah, Simon, it's working on my end, so I hope it's also working. Uh, if I come back to the glider, then you can hear the voice. So normally I hope it's now there should be like a beeping sound. So if there is a beeping sound currently audible, then everything is good. If there is no beeping sound, then something is not working. Ah, great. Okay, so the audio issue was solved. Thanks for the feedback, Simon. So there is not much else to say right now. This is also the first time for the gliding that I set up head tracking, because when I was flying the other flight simulators, it was not that necessary, but for the gliding, especially when you are looking for thermals, it's really necessary. And it's quite easy. I have like an app on my iPhone that just tracks my head, and then that feeds data through the network to a free application called opentrack, which does the head tracking, and it's pretty nice. I'm very used to it now. There is also something that you cannot do in a real glider, but with the head tracking you can do, and that is a tiny bit of a cheating. Like you can look outside of the glider, and that's sometimes useful when you are trying to be staying on the best position above a ridge. Yeah, you cannot do that in a real glider, but yeah, that's it. So I always think that's quite funny. So there is no flarm, but there is in the PDA you can see all the other people, and you can actually hear if you are very close to another player. So then you can hear the swoosh of the other glider. So sometimes when you're in thermals going around and around, then you have to listen out because you can also crash. The game is extremely not heavy on the FPS. Right now I'm having 200 FPS with AA and everything on full resolution 2K, and streaming. When I'm not streaming I have almost 400 FPS, and it's like one of the heavier sceneries. The whole Alps region is covered, so that's also something very nice, that I have like, I don't know, almost 10 times as much FPS as I have in X-Plane, for example. So it definitely can run on, and I'm on maximum settings in the game, so I cannot go higher. It's really maximum setting, maximum visibility, maximum everything. So it is a very light game in that sense. Yeah. So that was also a nice thing, that you don't have to worry about the frame rate anymore. Okay, there is only 2 more people in front of us. And then a lot of these people who are flying are like people who fly every day. So that also before my PPL exam, the check ride, I also flew basically almost every day, and then I could feel the improvement. So there was quite a good improvement curve, let's say, in my performance. And I managed to like finish, I think once like 6th out of around 30. That's more or less my best result. And then yesterday evening was the first time I flew again after 3 weeks. Then I was flying with a British server. And then I was 3rd out of 10. But a lot of people crashed out, so it was not such an amazing flight in any case. Uh, Today will be a flight which is mostly rich flying, so there is not gonna be much flying in thermals, I think, given the terrain. I cannot show it in one. It's a bit of an annoying thing, so I can start zooming out and I can come closer, so I start zooming out. You can see there is 1, 2, 3 turning points before the finish. But it's difficult to give a nice overview of the route itself. I find that sometimes a bit annoying. Okay, so our winch start is coming up very soon. It will give a countdown, and then we'll start. And then after we release, we'll go immediately left. And then sometimes there is also like not winch launch, but a tow launch, when you have to follow the plane. I really like that too. Okay, a bit of speed, and then we can go up. And then try to keep the wings horizontal. Then release, gear, and pitch, pitch down, and turn left. So now on the display on the top right top right of the screen, there is 2 displays. One on the right hand side which shows some data about the flight. This is an overlay, so this is not in the simulator itself. And then there is an artificial horizon that I can also just turn off, but it's really nice because it shows relative to the plane where the wind is coming from. So in the middle of that display, it's the plane with yellow, and then the blue is the display. So now there is wind almost exactly from the right. That's why I'm trying to fly close to this ridge on the left, because that gives us very good lift. then you can see up there all the other people who are probably trying to stay in the area where the best lift is. But so you see that there is like almost 4 or 5 meters per second lift here. It's very good. So the start window will be open for 45 minutes. But since the start is only maximum 1800 meters and we are already at 2200, we don't really need to go very high. But after start, I plan to start the same way here, come up over the ridge and then follow the terrain. Just have to make sure that you pitch down before the lift stops and then you have the risk of stalling, because we are trying to fly slow here because that's when the sink is the lowest. Alright, we'll turn around, because if I go too far into the valley then it's gonna be difficult to turn back. And I will stick to the right side, the same side of the ridge, where the best lift is from the wind. So there is 40 people in the server, that's the maximum. Already actually at plenty height, because you see the start is down there, but we can check out how the lift is at the different parts. Now we are above the ridge, so if I zoom in you can see we are above the ridge. So this being a standard class glider, there is no flaps, so there is only a speed brake. So we don't really have to do anything with our hands during the flight before landing. I actually like flying with gliders that have flaps, then there is more things to do. But so every day has a different restriction. Huh. I think some people are complaining that the server is not counting down for start, which is indeed a bit strange, because normally after the join window closes then the server starts counting down for the start. Maybe there is too many people and there is still somebody who has not been able to take off because of that. We will wait. I have never had an issue before on this server that they couldn't start. But so you can see that most people are flying with the LS8 Neo and then some others with the Discuss 2A. And then some others with the Genesis, only 2 people. So when we start, really, then this is going to be the same what we do, and we will want to go over that ridge here to the left. And the lift is so good that we will just do the same what we did until now. It's here almost 8 meters per second lift. And then if you just turn a bit later around the ridge, but we don't have to go higher now. If you turn a bit later around the ridge, then it's gonna be plenty enough. And so as you see, there is also kind of a chat function that people can write on the frequency. So people say that the issue with the start is being worked on. We can also try in the meantime and go to the cloud and check what lift we can get in the cloud. I guess there in the distance, that's the Matterhorn, probably. And then that would be the Aletschgletscher. Start line is, the start sector is really low. This is going to be probably a race where route choice is going to be a very big factor. And then just like in real life, these clouds have life cycles, so there are some clouds which form, then they go into the most active phase, then the mature phase, and then they dissipate. So now the race will start in 1 minute, so the race window will open in 1 minute. And then for 45 minutes, I think people can start whenever they want to. We will not wait much because in any case, we don't need to. But it's always nice to see a few people in front if it's not a regatta start, because then you can kind of see how the conditions are there. That's lift, so we can then try doing thermals also a bit, just for the fun, because I'm not sure that we'll see any thermals during the race. Then we have to center it. So it's a bit more to the northwest. now we are slightly out of it, so we steepen the turn, come back, and when we hear the vario go faster, then we straighten up a bit. Means that we are now on its left side, wait a bit, I mean on the right side. Okay, but maybe we should just start. So we'll get out of the thermal. It's also dissipating. And then we'll have to go down a lot. So now we go a bit with air brakes because we're way too high. Nice wind flex. So we want to aim to just fly into that valley at the highest possible speed we can and cross the start window at the exact maximum height 1800. Something you probably wouldn't do in real life, full air brakes going down. Okay, we just have to make sure we don't go over the maximum speed. Alright, we've started. And then we try to be as well positioned on the ridge as possible. Now we just have to stay at a low speed, maximum lift, because otherwise we'll have to turn around. We'll probably have to turn around in any case to be able to make it through that ridge there in front. So as close to the valley walls as possible, but make sure that we don't take any Christmas trees home. And so at this early stage it's impossible to look at the scoring because there's live scoring, but of course a lot depends on the score, so until you are not in the finish it's difficult to say anything because lots of people have started before you, I mean in front of you in time. us plenty of space to turn around. But since there is good lift here, we'll go as far as we can and then we turn around. Try to do it as coordinated as possible. Now here we have to look out for other people to not crash into anybody. This might be enough. And now let's hope on the return we'll make it over the ridge. Yeah, that's gonna work out, I think. Yeah, the height is already gonna be good. If the wind doesn't decide to die now, because we still need to go a bit higher. Come on. Come on, come on. Yeah, that was a bit close for comfort. Yeah, we're not gonna make that one, so we're gonna go a bit more to the left. Now we are in sync, so we will speed up. lot of sync here, I hope we'll make that. Yeah, that's gonna be fine. Mostly tailwind now, but sometimes there is a bit of lift depending on the terrain, but it's quite complex here, so try to aim at that massive and take it from the right side, and we'll still get some lift when we go towards the right on it. Yeah, clear, a lot of people have chosen one ridge further. It's a bit more optimal, likely. Now there is good lift already. We'll go one peak further, then we'll have better lift on the way down. probably not for all these people, but go one ridge more to the right. Like there, I think I can make that. Who knows? Well, I'm not sure. It's a better choice. The wind is very much from the back. Hey Kenji, yeah. Actually the scenery is quite nice. When you go higher, then the atmosphere model really falls apart, but otherwise when you're close, then there is even like trees and stuff. So it's like X-plane kind of scenery, I would say. Right, I think we need to fly a bit faster. At this stage, we'll use the valley there on the other side still to get some lift. But right now we can speed up a bit. We are already... Oh, there is a lot of lift here, so now I switch the variometer to speed display. Now it tells me how fast I should be flying, assuming a given amount of lift at the lift sources. Because depending on how much lift you get where there is lift, so if there is strong lift, then it's worth flying faster between the lift sources. And if there is weak lift, then it's worth flying slower between the lift sources. So with this MC 2.5 setting, that means that I set my speed, the aim speed, assuming that the lift sources will have 2.5 meters per second lift. So if I change that, for example, then you can see that the DDH, so the data hotel, that tells you how high you are going to be with this setting if you fly the speed that you should be flying with this setting on top of the next turning point. This can help you in gauging how fast you should be flying. Of course, with a ridge soaring task like today, it's a bit difficult because it's difficult to know when you will get lift, how strong that exactly is going to be. But I think on ridge task, the 2.5 is quite a good estimate. And you can see that when there is more lift, so on the top right corner with the red, you can see that now the total lift is 2. So there is now lift here. Then the speed display tells me to slow down, because in the lift you want to fly slower, and between the lift you want to fly faster. So the variometer is just giving you the total, the netto lift. So now it's 0.5, but there is that's because there is 1.9. Now there is 2 meters per second air going up, but at this speed the glider is losing height at like 0.7 meters per second, and then the total is what the variometer gives you. So if there would be like natural 0.7 meters per second lift, but you would be sinking 0.7 meters per second because of your glider's aerodynamics, then the variometer would give you 0. So when it says on the variometer that it's S, then it's the speed mode. When it's V, then it's the variometer mode. Here there is a ton of lift, so we're slowing down a bit to just enjoy the lift. And then as the lift weakens, we'll fasten up again. So I can also switch further, so you can see that for the one further turning point we are still 610 meters above, but second turning point you would not make it anymore without further lift. So this helps you to know how much height you still need to gain. Because for the final glide, you want to have that at like 100 meters above the target. And then flying the speed for that MC setting, so if MC 2.5, then that will have a speed around some volume, which I cannot exactly tell you now, but if we opened the datasheet of the glider, then you can see different MC settings, what speed setting they have. How are we doing? We are not doing well. We are 26th. Where are the other people? Already flown a different route. But so like for the next leg, after we turn, we'll fly headwind. So there's not really gonna be any lift sources on the way between the turning point 1 and 2. So that's why you really want this, when you are not on the next turning point, but the +1, that to be quite a lot of 100 meters above. Because that will enable us to go there even if there is no more lift source between the two turning points. And here I'm not flying really at the optimal position, because I should be flying above that ridge. But I was talking too much, didn't pay too much attention, so... So you can see that when there is a lot of lift, if you slow down, then the delta H, so the height above the turning point is growing. And of course, when we fasten up, then it will drop down a bit. But the netto effect of flying slower in lift and then flying faster afterwards still means that if we repeat it multiple times, every time there is strong lift, we slow down, then we will gain height, like useful height. So clearly we have not flown a direct route to try to make use of the extra lift that's being generated by flying close to this ridge on my left wing. So it's always a bit of a trade-off between the most direct route and route with better lift. And you can see that today there is not many clouds, so you have to use all the orographic lift that you can get, because there is not going to be much thermaling. This is going to be the valley just in front of, under my wing. That's going to be the valley where we'll turn back after this. Now we can set straight to the turning point. And that's what this display also tells you. So it tells you your distance to the turning point, the direction to the turning point. So the bearing is to the turning point, the heading is your heading, time to go to the turning point, and the estimated time of arrival at the turning point. And this gives you very similar information, except for this extra above height for the selected turning point. So for the next turning point we are going to be 2300 above, but for the one after that we'll be still 1000 above, more or less, currently. And also this gives you the direction, so as soon as that red dot is in the middle, then you're flying exactly towards the next turning point, even if not the next one is selected. Now when we are in the speed display, when the needle goes down, then I should pitch down to speed up a bit. And when the needle goes up, then I need to pitch up to slow down. That's how it works when it's in the speed mode and not in the variometer mode. Not gonna get a good result today, but I expected that if I have to talk also and not just concentrate on the flying, it's never as good. And this is the difficult part with the gliding. There is like no autopilot, so you constantly have to have your hand on the yoke. But we are at a good height here, so the fact that now we are at not a very good position in the total score doesn't mean that at the end we will not make up some places, but who knows. And now we'll try to turn exactly just clipping the edge of the sector. You don't have to go around the pole, just get in the sector and out. Alright. And then really speed up to the speed which we set at 2.5 MC. And now the wind is from the front a bit to the left, so we have to make sure that we are, if it stays a bit from the left, then we have to make sure to not get... We could try fly on the left side of this mountain, but maybe it's better if we just try to stay in the valley, and then we have the least chance of encountering sink. Because if you fly on the leeward side of the mountain, then you can get into a large sink, and that's not what we want. Sorry, I was just drinking, that's why the view went haywire with the head tracking. So you can see that a lot of people are much lower than we are. So, okay, we did a longer route than a lot of people did. And you can see the average speed of other people we discussed too is around 145. Those who are at a good position, we are 10 kilometers per hour slower. It's not really great. Can of course set a more aggressive speed, so if you think okay you will get enough lift along the ridges stronger than 2.5, then you can always go and set that. But so if I now fly this speed, then I'm gonna be at around 1080 or at least 1000 meters above the turning point, the next turning point. You can see if I set an MC of 4, then at that speed I would be only 940 above. And if I set an MC of 1, then I would be flying a much slower speed, but then I would be 1250 above. So this is a bit more useful when you're flying a purely thermal task, because then the only lift you get is in thermals, in thermics. And then you can set the MC really based on the lift that you measure in a thermic. And then you know that okay, I will fly from thermic to thermic at that speed. With the rich tasks it's a bit more difficult to know which speed to fly. Especially like now, we are in a headwind stage. And it's variable wind, so it's not like okay, I can see it's a bit more from the left, so I could stick to the right side of the valley. Because if the wind turns a bit, then suddenly the right side of the valley will produce sink. So at this point, I think the safest is to just fly in the middle of the valley. You don't get any kind of sink from any of the valley on the right side and the left side because you're far enough. But if there would be wind from the left again, then we would be flying on the right side, close to those mountains. If there would be wind from the right, we would be flying to the left to get the ridge lift from those. The difficulty will start actually after the next turning point, because here this is like straight flying towards the turning point. But after the next turning point, we will slowly fly out of the mountains. So optimally, we'd want to reach between the turning point 2 and 3 a height from which we don't need lift anymore. So we can just do a final glide at a given speed setting. Because yeah, there is not many clouds, so the chance of getting into a thermal is not high. So you want to use the ridge lift whenever you can. And after the next turning point, we'll turn left, then we'll have wind from our right wing, then we'll try to stick to the valleys on our left and then gain as much height as we can. We'll see how the things work out there, because there is like those people who are very low now, they will have difficulty, so they just have to make it to the next turning point and then start climbing up along the walls. There we'll have some advantage because we are much higher, so we'll have much more leg room to play with, let's say. It's also possible, of course, that we are flying way too defensive. It's not really defensive, but not aggressive enough with the too small MC setting, so we are not fast enough. That's something that only experience can teach in these kind of situations, and I don't have that kind of experience yet. Yeah, I will do a looping before we touch them. So Brian, if you stay till the end, I will do looping. I usually, after we cross the finish line, I like to fly inverted over or do a loop, because then people always play around a bit after they have already completed the task. But until then, we are not doing loopings. Sorry about that, not in the race. Sometimes there are like random lift sources, then a tiny bit slowing down, waiting out how that lift changes. And the speed display nicely tells these things. Even if I don't look at the top right corner where the display tells me how the movement of the air is. If I switch to Vario, then you can see now we are basically at a net 0.1022. So even though we are flying 170 through airspeed, we are not losing height. But I go back to speed mode, it's more useful for me at this point. We are up at the 23rd place. Up, I mean, of course we started behind most people, so that's why it's difficult to say your position during the race, because you can see I am at 32 minutes into the race, but there are a lot of people at 34, 35. So of course then I'm still 3 minutes behind. That means I have 3 more minutes to collect points, because the scoring is with a point system. Now we have to fasten up a bit because there is no more lift anymore, extra lift. So that scoring system takes into account your average speed, the handicap of your glider, and it only gives you the final points after you have closed the finish line. So as long as it's not a regatta start, when everybody starts at the same time, then it's difficult to tell exactly at which position you are in the race. If you start half an hour later, because the start window is open for half an hour or 45 minutes, then it might be that you do the best race and you only get to know that at the very end when you cross the finish line, because you cannot tell. Like for example, if I look at these people, I don't know if they have started before me or after me. The only thing I can tell, okay, they are at a much worse position qua altitude, but it might be because they have flown a much more aggressive race and they have gained a better speed. And it might be that later on they find a good lift source and then they gain the altitude back. So it's extremely difficult to say anything about the exact position of within the race while the race is still going on. it's different when you have the regatta start, because when a regatta start means that the clock starts running at the same time for everybody. Then it's really, you can really nicely tell who is where, and if you are first, then you are probably going to be first. And of course there is still something that can be different then, because there is an open class, for example, where you can fly with any kind of glider. And if you have a regatta start where lots of different gliders are, then they have different handicaps, so the score will also depend on your handicap. So it might be that you are the first who finishes a regatta race, but you are flying with a much higher performance glider, so you should finish faster. So then it might be that somebody who flies a worse glider, let's say, which is aerodynamically not as performant as the others, then you finish 2 minutes behind the first guy and you still win, because with that handicap you have collected better scores. But in the standard class, most the LS8 Neo and the Discus 2, which I'm flying, have more or less the same handicap. So here that's not gonna play a large, it's not gonna influence it largely. Yeah, but we are still 1400 above this turning point, that's good. How is then the next one? 611 below. And for the final we will be 1600. So that's the finish. We are, if we don't get any lift, we will be at 1600 below the turning point. That's not optimal, right? So we still need to gain that much height from lift somewhere along the way. And when we turn left, we'll get a lot of lift, because then we'll get the wind from the right, and then we'll fly along like these other people do along the ridges. And then our turning point is just above this city here, which is, I have no idea what that is. But now we are in Italy somewhere. And now we have some lift, so we slow down a bit. And there is where we need to turn, so we have to go a bit to the left. Just have to clip again the zone, we don't have to go around that virtual pole. And you can see on the PDA that everybody is after the turn, they are trying to fly again close to the windward side of the mountain. Oh, there is a lot of lift here that I'm wasting, flying too fast. But not this slow. And then let's get as close to the ridge as we can. We are at 21st place so far, probably a bit better than that because we started later. But now a difficult part will come, because you don't see it yet, but basically there is a ridge which you either go around or go over. And optimal thing would be going over. So we'll see how much lift we can get here. Switch back to the variometer. And then it's a tricky business because you try to gain as much altitude as you can until you are sure that you will be able to make it to the finish line, but you don't want to fly so slow that you waste time. I will try to not crash into that person under us. Like now here we are in a big sink, that's not good. You can see some people are trying to kind of thermal in this lift that's gonna very quickly arrive where we are. That's always a risky business because you can just fly out to the right and then the lift stops because it's only very close to the ridge. Indeed, there is very good lift here. So maybe we'll do a loop. And that was not a good idea, as you see, as soon as I leave the region above the ridge. It's very strong, so it's probably worth gaining a bit of altitude here. And then we'll try to go over that ridge. You can see where the other people are also flying. And then with that, make it over that mountain range. That we have already gained almost like 600 meters on the long term, because we are already 250 above the next turning point and let's say 800 below the final one. Now as long as there is lift we will fly slow, and as soon as the lift stops we'll go faster. Okay, maybe here we'll do one more loop. Amazing, there is still lift here. Okay. Yeah, amazing. Unexpected. Okay, now we can speed up a bit, and we'll go back to speed. And then we'll follow the ridge going from my variometer to the left. And we only need to gain 400 extra meters, and then from there we can do the final glide. Of course, if we gain more height from that point, then we can just steepen the final glide and make it stronger and faster and faster. I think that some people are orbiting there, so probably there is like a good lift source. We'll see. Because after that there is no more mountains, so we either gain that altitude here or we have to find a cloud, and there is not that many clouds, so I'd rather gain that altitude here in a orographic lift source. Not really a thermal, but it's a lift source. Try to fly over that extra ridge. That might be helpful indeed, where the other people are heading. We still need 370 meters. But above this ridge there should be still lift. Come on. Is there anything here? Yep. Okay, let's try to do one loop here. No, let's go where the other people are going. Barely need any height. faster. Only 170 meter will get that above that next range, that's fine. Here I'm flying in 2 meters per second with lift. And now not anymore. Okay, we need 100 more meters. That's gonna be fine. From there it's a long final glide. There needs to be lift here. Hopefully we'll still get some lift on the way. I don't think there is point in wasting more time here. Just always try to stick to the trajectory, yeah, like this. Nice. Only 100 meters to go at 2.5, so that should be okay if we fly a bit more clever along the terrain. But we're not at a good position in any case. With an MC of 1.4 we would already be in there, but that's very slow. We don't want to fly that slow. Maybe that cloud will also be giving us some lift. Where is that? If it starts growing while we go there, that would be not bad. you can see at the bottom of the PDA that somebody is thermaling in that cloud. So if there is no other lift source, we'll try to do that. Pull a few turns. It's dissipating. So in that we are not gonna pull too many turns. Don't need much height, extra height anymore. Some people there too, but I don't think I need that. There is lift here. There are both lift here, not much. There is still lift. Quite good lift. I mean, relatively speaking. Might already be enough. Yep. Yeah, unfortunately that fell apart, that cloud. Right now, if we fly at this speed, then we'll still make it to the finish. So that's already something. I don't want to go for another cloud and then there climb higher. Of course, always a bit risky being that close to the limit. Because if you get into a sink, then you are a bit in the problem. I think we will be fine. A lot of people are trying to climb. Of course, if you climb higher, then you can do higher speed from the end, from there to the end. There is always some trade-off. We'll just try to fly it in from here. Here there's 2 points with lift. Now we'll see what the final score will be. There are still there people who are lower than I am. This 24th is quite a bad place. And I like top half finishes. But we'll see, we'll see. Of course we started later than most of them, so we have a few minutes extra. We can do MC3 now, with higher speed for the final glide. There is still some lift here, that's why the delta H is going higher. DDH, I have no idea how they say that in a glider. DDH, or probably not delta hot also, DDH. still good speed, 207 kilometers per hour true airspeed. We are at now 21st place, so maybe this final glide will still give us some good places. We'll see. Except to keep it on the speed, exactly on the speed, and then we will arrive exactly where we need to arrive. Though the last leg is against the wind, so that means that we probably should fly a bit faster than what this place says. We'll see about that. Clearly going to overtake this LS8 Neo here. And the turning point is probably above that airfield down there. And then we'll turn to the right. Say hi to those people on the right. Place so far. It's always nice when there are other people around. So this is already the Po Valley. We have left the Alps behind. Alright, so we just need to crop the right edge of that sector, and then it's really the final portion. So nice lift here. We'll slow down a tiny bit to enjoy that. And then speed up. That gives us some extra speed for the future. See now the MC, I can set that to higher. And then I can fly higher speed. The first people have arrived. John Ingram is one of the guys who usually wins, so it wouldn't be a surprise if he would be the one. So there are really a lot of people who are doing this every day, so there are a lot of names I already know who expect to be at the top spots. So it's 5 minutes to go till we are in the finish, more or less. Here we don't have to worry about much sink anymore, probably, because there is not much thermal activity. Also there is no hills or valleys that could disturb the airflow, so it should be quite smooth sailing till the finish line. So we'll just try to keep on the speed that the MC setting is giving us. You can see nicely the line of gliders going towards the finish. So see now there is somebody who took over the first position from Ingram, because they started a bit later, so even though they arrived later to the finish, the netto time they flew was shorter, and they were in the same glider, the same kind of glider, so there is no difference in the the handicap. So all the people who are like under the glide slope, they have to fly a slower speed than what we are flying, because otherwise they wouldn't make it. So we are still gaining some time on them, let's say. We'll see how many points we get at the end, so that also matters. You might be 20th, but get almost the exact good performance. So the winner gets 1000 points, and then there is an official scoring method, which then tells you how much different time and a different handicap influences the total score you get, given your finish time. So, for example, you can be 30th but get 950 points. That would be still a very good result. Or you can be 3rd and get 500 points, which would mean that everybody did very badly. Except for the first guy, of course. Currently at 19th position. It's probably not gonna be much better at the end. Would be nice to be... that's not gonna happen. First half is 17 already. That might work. That wouldn't be bad. And then after we cross the finish sector, then from there on it doesn't matter what you do. You can crash, you can do periods, you can land nicely at the end. So from there on it's just playing and waiting for the other people to arrive to get your final score. So normally after I've crossed the finish line, I pull up the pitch to gain some altitude, and from there circle back for landing or do one inverted pass over the runway for fun, of course. Just have to keep that DDH over 0, nicely fly this speed. You can see the speed display is more or less on 0. That means that we are flying the speed that we should be flying with this MC setting. And usually the finish is going to be above the runway. Still 19th. Of course it can be that people, after we finish and we are at a given position, then some people will still come in and push us lower. It can happen. So we have to be at least at 500 feet. Sorry, so it's probably 100 meters above the ground level. Because you have to cross the finish line at least at 500. I think that was the... yeah, at least at 500. That means that we can cross it a bit lower, and then the immediate pitch up would mean that we still go into the sector at the right height. Yeah, so I pulled up a bit too early. And now we can start putting up the water ballast. So currently we are at 17th place. If we stayed there, that would mean that we finished in the top half. That would be nice overall. With all this talking I did today and not being flown too much recently with the simulator. And then we can wait till the other people arrive. No, still 17th. People with the... I think that will be at the end too. I think I might be a bit too low to do loops anymore, but an inverted pass above the runway might still work out. But the 17th place is still there, not too bad. Yeah, this is too low for a loop, so we are not gonna do that anymore. We're probably just gonna land. We're still releasing the water, so if you look, you can see that we are dropping the ballast. But we are going to land. Okay, we can go a bit further. Okay, gear is down. Air brakes to the half, more or less. Vacate the runway to not be anybody's way. Let's try go to the other people. And we are landed. So that was it. That was the gliding race. That was flying with Condor 2. And we are at 18th position, so just were pushed out of the top half. 881 points, that's not the best score I've had so far. Very far from a best score. But so that's the final, because there is still somebody out, but that person will still take us over because 158. So the final placing will be 19th, because there is somebody out on the final glide who already have 158 average. So they will probably finish around 5th position. So they just started later. You can see they are at 55 minutes and only 30 kilometers of glide to go, so their speed is probably going up. 158.7, 158.8, so that's just gonna keep going up. And they are with an LS8 Neo, so if we assume that on the final glide they will still gain like 4 or 5 kilometers per hour, then they will indeed finish maybe in a top 3 place. We are not going to wait for that because that's still 7 minutes, but that means, that shows you that you can also just start later and then don't be bothered by the other people and then finish as a good position. But I think it was still a nice race. The first half especially more difficult. The final glide is never too much difficulty. So I hope it was useful for those who watched or who joined for a little bit to watch. I'm sorry for the audio issues at the very beginning. it's really a nice game to pick up. It's very pure flying without the engine. It's very different than flying on Ivy or VATSIM with the X-Plane or Microsoft Flight Simulator. Especially I think flying with the gliders that also have flaps is very interesting. The races are always different, with slightly different, well, not just slightly, with different weather conditions, different routes. I've never done the same twice. The learning curve is steep, but if you watch a few tutorials and read a little bit above, about gliding or flying with Condor 2, you can pick it up very quickly. Anything else? I don't think there is anything else. It's fun to do. There are people from all over the world, so when you go to the results page on the Condor Club, where you can see the general results, then you can see that there are people from really the US, Germany, Denmark. There is some other people also from Belgium sometimes, from France, a lot of people, Austria, Hungary, so really all over the world. And there are, again, as I said, a lot of people who fly every day. So there is an elite group of glider players, let's say, and these are typically also like real life gliders. So the flight model in Condor 2 is extremely good. They use it for real life training, and I've heard about people on the Discord of the UK channel, for example, who have used it extensively and have managed to progress in real life gliding much faster than people who have not had access to the simulator. So it's really nice. I like this as an extra thing next to the real life flying and cycling or whatever. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you the next time. Maybe it's gonna be again a glider related video, more of an introduction of how things really work, do a bit of thermaling, do a bit of rich soaring. I can do maybe one of the silver badge challenges. So there are some ratings also in real life, silver, gold, and diamond, and there are some distance ratings. And for example, for the silver, I don't exactly remember the durations, but for these kind of ratings, you have to either fly a given duration and a given distance, and you need to have some given amount of altitude gained. So for example, for the silver, I think it was like 1 hour, 100 kilometers, and maybe 3,000 meters gained, or even less. I don't remember exactly. But these are nice challenges at the beginning, which you can do offline, and then you can start doing the races. And then yeah, in the first few races, I was dead last because yeah, you have to learn all the things, how people fly the different tasks. And then yeah, before the holidays I had a few very good results, like top 10%, 20%. But I think overall at the beginning, when you finish in the first half, it's a very nice result. All right, thanks for joining, and I will see you the next time. Fly safe. Bye bye.